there was me, John, and Samoa Joe were at every single class, and like John Cena, I've said this since day one until this to this day. His best attributes are his work ethic and his attitude.
So compare that to, because I'm very curious about, because wrestling now to me is, I think the hottest I've ever seen it overall. I'm talking about the independents and everything other than say WWE. Not just WWE being hot. It's very hot itself, but all the everything is the independent scene in California now. How does that compare to when you started, or do you know because you don't have to do it?
I mean, I try to kind of monitor, but it's I'll say there's a lot of quantity, but not a lot of quality. There are still a lot of shows going on, but nothing noteworthy. Nobody making any real noise. It's there's promotions like Game Changer Wrestling comes out here, and when they come out to SoCal, they draw a big house. They do good. Same with like this promotion Prestige. But there's no real big company in Cali running like regular shows. You know, uh, Local stuff, yeah, but there's not a whole lot.
One
What
thing
was
I've
that kid? What was that kid's name that had Hollywood Wrestling? That Paul Bear and all those guys.
The
What?
Dave Marquez,
Dave
Championship Wrestling from
Marquez.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Was he?
they would be the maybe one that runs more steady than anyone else, and they do have like local television, so like that would be one. But that's probably it.
Now, when you were around Bassman, was that pre John Cena and all that crew that he
No,
had?
yeah, no. John had just started when I started with UPW. I'd already made a name for myself kind of out here, and John was brand new. I wrestled John, I think, in his maybe third or fourth match. And This was in San Diego for UPW, and I just met him, and I remember him saying like, "Hey, you know, I'm very green. I know you do a lot of high flying, a lot of stuff." I go, "Actually, I don't, man. It's just the guys I've been in
Which is
matches with."
which is strange because he's a Boston guy. He would have figured you
I
came
know,
from
yeah.
Boston.
It's crazy. We like did the opposite things, Like I
Yeah,
went there, he came here.
yeah.
But anyways, we had a match that was fine, and then like I really, became really good buds with him because I started training at UPW, and uh, there was me, John, and Samoa Joe were at every single class, and like John Cena, I've said this since day one until this to this day. His best attributes are his work ethic and his attitude, because that dude was busting his ass every day in class, trying to get better, and had a great attitude about it. Every step of the way. So we became buds, and we trained together, and we hung, and we did shows together, and that's when UPW was obviously developmental territory. So that's when I started to get, you know, some eyeballs on what I was doing or what we were doing collectively.
And you guys rap together, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, we used to have like they would freestyle like we either outside the school or we'd go to Samoa Joe's house for these incredible Samoan barbecues. They just give you food until you pass away. It was incredible. And we would like freestyle rap, and I would, I'm a rock and metal guy, so I'd pretend to know what I was doing and try, but like those guys would go back and forth, and yeah, man, it was the innocence of those days is not lost on me, man. It was really, really fun looking back all these years and seeing where we all are now. It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and Cena, what a smart guy. That's one of the things, famously that saved his job. He did a freestyle rap for
Yep.
Vince, and Vince, asked Bruce famously, how long did it take him to memorize that? Bruce said, no, that was on the fly. That's when he realized that this guy's different. Talking about Cena, this
Yep.
he is.
Yep. Yep. That's so cool that's what got him like over that hump and like became the basic thugonomics character and all that. And it's like, I used to battle rap with it, way back when. So it was really cool.
And how often were you guys working out there? You guys you're training at UPW. How often were you working?
So with UPW, we started to really pick up the pace. He would do monthly shows at the Galaxy Theater where we'd have people scout. Mr. Brisco, you came and watched us once or twice there, I remember. Then we'd have shows every Saturday. So between UPW and Independence, I'm starting to work 3-4 times a week, which is good. I'm getting my reps in. So, and we had WWF at the time representation coming down and critiquing us. So, getting us out of the bad habits that we had maybe acquired. So like there was that a full like year where I got to, got to learn a lot, a lot of what not to do and, get rid of these bad habits from the independents and get my reps in and really start, just working in front of different crowds and just more people and working different people, guys of all sizes. And that's when I really started to mature more as a pro wrestler.